Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek. I am your co-host, Zach Badger Davis, and sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
Chaunce is talking at 1.5x today for no particular reason.
I am amped. Here's the thing is the listeners are going to get such a good listen out of this because they're going to know how this game goes.
Yeah.
When they hear this, they know what's happened. For
context, today is the Bills' first playoff game of the 2024 season, and Chaunce is decked out appropriately. If you're watching on YouTube, you've already gathered that. But yeah, she's feeling good. And she just broke her dry January.
I have not yet. I was going to do it on air. It's the game that they moved to Monday because of weather. Coincidentally, it starts kickoff same time as the podcast. So I'm here. I'm on edge. I don't know how this is going to go. But cheers to fucking up dry January.
Hey. Half the month is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like a moist January.
I'm adding on a week in February as punishment to myself, unless we start doing good, because I'm going to drink for every game.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a Super Bowl.
Listen, I did dry January for 2 weeks. It was kind of lame. Like, not saying other people doing it is lame, just my personal experience. It wasn't as fun as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I don't think you have to qualify your sobriety. Good on anyone who does anything that they want to do.
Yeah, so cheers. Go Bills.
Yeah. Before we get to today's interview, got a few reminders for you. This is an exciting one, is we've got a live podcast in the works. We don't have the official details yet, but we think we have the venue. We think we have the time frame. We're looking at early March right now. Just trying to square away the last remaining details, but this will be with a somewhat recent guest that was a fan favorite, and this will be our first live podcast since the one that we did in Wisconsin, which we don't talk about anymore. We don't talk about that.
We've learned some things since.
Yeah. We will go into this one with probably fewer than the 14 drinks that we did last time.
Yeah, and no Java.
Yeah, no Java's we're giving away who our guest isn't, I guess.
No, we're not. We're just saying it's not Java.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
We know who our guest isn't.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I want to give you some deets on is we have the official date of the Hair Wall launch, and that happens to be today. So if you are listening to this in a timely manner, please head on over to the link in the show notes, which will direct you to our eBay page. We are auctioning off our illustrious hair wall.
You can't think of something better to call it.
For me, it's a hair wall.
Our esteemed guest signature Tyvek.
Yeah, there you go. That works better. But yeah, everyone who's come to record an episode in studio here has graced our Tyvek wall. Some people have left some hair. But basically, if you've heard a guest in person in the last 2.5, 3 years, something in that range, they have signed our Tyvek wall. We've got Skirka, Pony, Viking,
Abstract, Matt. What's his name? Matt's Lions.
Yep. Kyle Hates Hiking. Some recent favorites.
Courtney Dahlwalter, Pony.
Too many people to name. We've got the full list for you on the eBay page. But if you guys want to have a piece of Backpacker Radio history in your abode, here's your opportunity. And 100% of the proceeds that we raise for this will be going to a nonprofit. I promise by the time that this is out, I'll have the nonprofit part figured out, but haven't confirmed that as of this recording. But yeah, the money will definitely go to a good cause. Last but not least, if you guys enjoy Backpacker Radio and you want to support the show, we have a Patreon account. On the first Wednesday of every month, we do a Patreon-specific episode. We recently just recorded February's episode, which was another edition of calling our Patreon supporters. Had some fun conversations this time. And this episode ended with a inside glimpse into Chaunce's holidays with her boo.
Yeah, we called Garrett and didn't tell him that we were calling him, and then we asked him a bunch of questions and put him on the spot.
Got a very funny detailing of what should have been intimate and sentimental moment with your dad, and made for a very funny thing.
Yeah, he's going to hear that now. Yeah. Sorry, Dad.
Well, you're stuck in that one.
Yeah, thanks.
And yeah, if you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/backpackerradio. Last but not least, Chauncey's got one here for us too.
Yes, we are going to try a new method for our sticker codes. If you're someone that has been craving a Backpacker Radio sticker, this is a new way to get it. We are going to be giving away stickers to people who sign up for our email list on backpackerradio.com. Just trying to drive some traffic to that website. So if you go on backpackerradio.com and you scroll to the bottom, there is a join our mailing list. Put in your email, we will get a notification, and we will send you some stickers.
Easy peasy. Let's get to today's interview. We are joined by Kevin Koski. Koski. Always the second one. AKA The Animal, who is the man behind the Four Corners Loop, a new 2,300 plus mile route circling the Four Corners region across Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. In addition to hiking the CDT in 2004, as well as the PCT, Kevin has invented other routes for himself, including 6 different 100 plus mile routes across the Cascade Mountains. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's just jump right into the main event. I want to know all about this loop. What was the inspiration for creating this?
So the inspiration was a map called the Geographic Face of the Nation, and I had this map in my cubicle wall, and I bought it because I wanted to draw the Continental Divide Trail on it and the Pacific Crest Trail on it and some of the other longer hikes that I've done. And you know, it's an office job. I work for the Navy. I'm a nuclear engineer. And, you know, you're doing bureaucratic stuff and you're kind of dreaming about hiking. And so anyways, I'm looking at this map, and it's an elevation profile map, and I see this ring of mountains. And I just kept looking at it and kept looking at it. And I was like, gosh, I wonder if anybody's hiked that. I wonder if there's trails there. I just kept asking my trails. So I'm a volunteer with Olympic Mountain Rescue in Bremerton, Washington. So I got on my Sartopo account and started zooming in. And 3 years later, I drew this route. And so the inspiration was really the geographic face of the nation. It wasn't linking up other long distance trails, or it's really, I wanted to keep it circular because it looks like a giant meteor crater hit the planet Earth when you zoom out on Google Earth and go out in space. I can't find any other loop on any other continent that really jumps out. This maybe if you hike the perimeter of the what is it, the desert, what is it, God, I'm spacing it out, the Gobi Desert. You know, there's a giant loop, like a really big loop. But so it was basically a geographic map that inspired it.
Got it. And I guess actually let's back up a little bit to get more of your background as an outdoorsman. I've got a note here that you do a lot more than just backpacking.
Yeah, so I grew up just down the road from where we're doing this podcast today. And as a little child, I used to ride my bike out here and go hiking up the little trails outside of Golden, Colorado, and was in Boy Scouts, and 11 years old was my first backpacking trip, and all I wanted to do was carry more weight and hike farther, and all the other kids wanted to fish. And was never really picked up the fishing bug.
You can make fun of fishing on this podcast.
Okay, good.
Especially angling.
I can't stand just sitting around like waiting for something to happen. So anyway, I wanted to hike to the Continental Divide that day, and the other adults were like, "No, do you have a partner?" I was like, "No." So they wouldn't let me go. So I always, I don't know. I just picked up backpacking, and I always wanted to go on longer and longer trips. My parents weren't backpackers. I think I just like walking all day long. So I moved to Washington State after college, and I love the Cascades. In fact, I love them so much. People might hate me for saying this, but I won't move back to Colorado after living in Washington State. But I love the Cascade Mountains. Do a lot of mountaineering. I volunteer with.
What is it that you like about the Cascades over the Rockies, out of curiosity?
So I like it that people don't live in the Cascades. They're so new and so rugged. They've never really developed a road network into those mountains like what I was experienced in Colorado. So you can have 7-day trips up there and not cross any roads. I like the fact that if you do a cross country route, you're pushing through the bushes and finding your route. I like finding your own route. I'm not much of a it's just looking at maps and finding my own route. I'm not somebody that likes to read previous trip reports and then do what that person did.
Another pre-Four Corners Loop question, and this might be a little bit of a segue, but I'm curious, is when you walked in here, you said you've had 2 jobs, Waterworld and being a nuclear engineer for the Navy.
Yeah.
And my brain, for some reason, connects the word nuclear to missiles. But that's the only place my brain goes.
No,
what do you do?
It's power. It's nuclear power. So I maintain the submarines that all Americans own, submarines and aircraft carriers. So I'm kind of a piping engineer. I work on piping systems and hangars, and but it doesn't have. I don't do anything with the missiles. and I don't glow either.
Do you did you have any hot takes with the Titanic thing when that sub went?
The submersible.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't really, I probably didn't have a need to know, so nobody told me anything. So.
Okay. You missed I don't know what adjective to use about that news story. I guess tragic is one way to describe it. What about Waterworld?
I loved it. It's the best job I ever had. I was a teenager and gotta go there and swim all day and play with your friends, and there was always a party after work. I loved it. It's just I grew up right next to it, so of course my mom used it as a babysitter for us. So we of course you get a job there. And then I left Colorado by going to college at the United States Merchant Marine Academy. I got a nomination to one of the 5 federal academies, and studied marine systems engineering and took a job in Washington because I missed the mountains. I missed hiking because the East Coast mountains are kind of hills covered with broccoli. I thought.
I like that description. Are there any secrets of the Waterworld world?
Oh, the secrets of the water. Oh, I don't know if they let you swim near them anymore, but the suction vents in the Thunder Bay are a really good place to scrounge up a bunch of money because people lose money out of their pockets. There's always $5 and $20 bills stuck to the grates. But I think the lifeguards yell at people if you swim by them because they want that money when the place closes down at night.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your first thru hike, which I think you mentioned was the CDT in 2004. This is before thru hiking is what it is today, obviously, and especially the CDT. I think A Walk in the Woods had already come out probably a few years prior, but like Wild hadn't come out and people hadn't gone from the AT to the PCT to the CDT. Do you know how many people actually hiked the CDT the year that you did?
I think there was about 13 people on it that year, maybe more, probably a little bit more than that. But I was one of 4 northbounders that I knew about. Like Ronnie from Israel was going north, and Garlic Man, this guy Garlic Man was going north, who gave me my trail name. Going south was Yogi. I didn't know what Trail Magic was when I started. I wanted to do Colorado Trail, so I started looking at it, and I was like, whoa, what's this longer thing, the Continental Divide Trail? So I bought the little yellow books from the Continental Divide Trail Society, and from some guy, I think he's out of Washington, D.C. Bought those, and I bought I didn't know about the Jonathan Lay maps, so I bought every 7.5 minute series map from Mexico to Canada, which is about 26 pounds of maps. And that $6 a map is like $1,500 of maps, and so I'm reading this book, and I'm like, there's a knoll somewhere, and I got 10-foot topo lines on this. Where's the knoll? So I literally highlighted this route following the Continental Divide Trail Society books, and so 7 days into the trip, I ran into Garlic Man, and I was lonely already because I'm pretty social, and I was like, geez, there's New Balance 10 shoe prints here, like I need to talk to somebody. So I didn't know anything. I didn't know what Trail Magic was. One day, I'm like, Garlic Man, there's Coke in a cooler here. This pop, what's this? And he's like, Trail Magic. I'm like, Trail what? So it went off with that hitch. I followed my line from Mexico to Canada. So the Four Corners Loop was kind of like walking the CDT in 2004.
I love the trail name Garlic Man.
Yeah.
We've been getting some good ones lately.
For sure.
He sauteed garlic every night, like fresh garlic.
Wow.
And my mom said he really stunk. But
was he just eating it straight?
He would saute it in his little alcohol stove and
Yeah.
chop it up and put whatever else in.
Okay.
But he always carried fresh garlic and would saute it up.
Yeah.
So.
I know people will get into the garlic game because I don't know if this is true or if this is a wives' tale, but garlic can help with mosquitoes.
He says that's not true.
Okay.
And he also says they're attracted to people who wear blue, which, they got a lot of blue on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I trust the Garlic Man on that.
And he's the guy that gave me my trail name. So
Yeah. What's the story there?
So I'm kind of a human compass. I never get lost. And so we're going along, and I'm like, okay, where's that guy? He's behind me again. So I'd be waiting for him, but in the San Juans, we didn't do the creek cutoff. We post holed through the snow because I love post holing. And he cut up to me. He's like, man, he thought about my trail name the whole state of New Mexico. He's like, you're the animal because you speed up on loose rock and snow. So he really thanked me for getting him through the San Juans and telling him left or right. Yeah, I like it. It fits my personality.
Yeah.
The human compass would have been a good alternate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that too.
Sounds like you're built for backpacking. You're the human compass. You love post holing.
Yeah, I'm not an extreme ultralighist either. like on the PCT, people are like, Animal, what are you carrying? And who's that guy? He did the Badwater 100. George said he's got the record from Death Valley up to the Whitney. He's an ultra runner.
Is it Jurek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ran into him and his partner on the PCT. They were just out there for a month, and I didn't know who he was. He was like, man, you can really move with that large backpack. I walked with him for like 2 miles.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you first meet people, like they kind of think you're maybe like new at this or won't make it or something when they see your big pack? Do you get judged?
A little bit, yeah, because I wouldn't say I got a homemade pink pack cover that's pretty atrocious looking that hangs down because nobody makes pack covers big enough for my backpack. So I'm not the most fashionable out there. So I think that gives the allure to, like, who's this Yahoo? And I consider myself a Yahoo backpacker.
A Yahoo, I love that.
Another good trail name,
Yeah,
Yahoo.
Sure. Yeah. So what's the most luxurious or egregious thing that's in your pack?
Ooh, well, I carried a wombat with me for a little stuffed wombat. That's like a little pillow for the PCT and a little bit of the Four Corners Loop, which I mailed at home eventually. But so yeah, it's pointless to carry a stuffed animal with you, but it's fun.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, please continue.
Sorry, I need to know.
That's good.
Oh gosh, so I'm not a light. I mean, I have some light stuff, but gosh, I mean, I have the usual stuff that everybody has. Light stove, light backpack, like like the umbrella. Everybody carries umbrellas. I'm just trying to think extracurricular. I carry on the CDT. I carry this like. This radio, this little AM FM shortwave radio, which that no longer got carried anymore. But yeah, nothing's really jumping out to me like egregious. Just really the wombat. So
that's good. That's a good one.
I like that.
Yeah, curious to know more about hiking the CDT in 2004.
It was my first through hike, so we post-holed a lot through the San Juans. I remember drinking some yellow water that was just the worst thing in the world that we got out of this black hose by El Malpa's lava beds. And then after that, we drank this more yellow water out of this tank. And I was just craving, orange soda. And I think I drank like 6 gallons of orange soda in the McDonald's in Grants, New Mexico.
Just put your mouth under the fountain.
Yeah. But it just, yeah, it was good. It was just, I didn't have, it was fun crashing my 10-year high school reunion when I got to I-70. I was like, God, man, I'm going to crash my high school reunion. So nobody knew who I was because I had a big beard then. And
were you reluctant to show up looking like a homeless person?
I did to the cake party the night before.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody knew who wanted to talk to me because I probably stunk. And so the next day I went to the mall and I was like, I need some good-looking clothes for this beard. So the lady really helped me out. So.
That's funny.
But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I love the vast views, to the left and the right. And it's my first through hike. I made some mistakes. I learned you don't make a time and a place to meet somebody. So I was supposed to meet somebody in Pinedale for the Wind Rivers. So because of that, I had to skip. My dad drove up from Denver. So I haven't hiked the Great Basin, Wyoming. So I skipped that. And then we made it to the Chinese Wall and the Bob Marshall Wilderness when Grogman twisted his ankle. And it was October 5th. So this summer I finished that part in the Bob. But so I haven't hiked Glacier National Park yet.
You mentioned something that I think is like a good thing to elaborate more on. You just said one thing you learned is that you don't make a time and a place to meet someone.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people that start their first hike, they have family or friends that want to come meet them somewhere along the trail, and that's a tough lesson to learn on trail. I'd love if you would walk us through that in detail. I
mean, you're not there yet. Either things happen, either you're slow or you're fast. Or I had something that threw me off on the Four Corners Loop that I'll give you. We'll see if that I ask later for. But I was only in Rollins, Wyoming when I made the time to meet John in Pinedale. So I had to skip the Great Basin, and it was fun. He joined me through the Wind Rivers, worked the hardest he's ever worked in his life because he came from sea level to 11,000 feet, and I'm in shape. And then we got off. We did go to the $1 Million Cowboy Bar, and I'm a dirty dancer in the bar. Nobody wanted to dance with me, but some old timers like, boy, your partner out there really knows how to cut a rug. But So
Do you have a go-to move?
go where?
A go-to move? Dance move?
Oh, I'm pretty good with a lot of stuff. Splits. I do the splits a lot.
No, you don't.
Yeah, as I get older, they get harder and harder to do. My wife wants me to stop doing them. But
We have to see this before you leave. Yeah.
yeah, maybe when I go to my car outside and slip in the 3 below snow.
Wow.
Yeah, so I want to get us to the meat of the Four Corners loop, but I obviously don't want to blow past the PCT in 2014. So there's a 10-year gap between your through hikes or your hikes. What accounted for such a big lapse in time between long distance treks?
It's called our society we live in, where we have a job. I listened to one of your previous guests, Buck 30, and how he had the same employer for years. I've had the same employer since college, so I'm consider myself very lucky, just like he did, because I've received 3 sabbaticals from work, and so that was really it. I took the PCT wasn't even on my radar. I had some friends that were retiring and said, Kevin, or the Animal, do you want to hike the PCT with us? And I wasn't even thinking about it. And I saw the email. I filled out a leaf slip. I said, leaf slips turned in. And I just told work, I said, hey, 3 years from now, I'm going to go hike the PCT. And I would just wear them down. Like, you just keep, they don't sign it. You wear them down. They just keep talking about it, and then they ignore the leaf slip and sit on it for years. And then finally some big manager gets kind of worked up because nobody told him that somebody turned a leaf slip in 3 years ago. And then they're like, I guess we got to let this guy go. So that's, each scenario has been a little bit different. I've worked some overtime weekends and stuff, but I've had the luxury of having a good, stable job. And so I did not do the AT, PCT, CDT in a row. I love the PCT. It was fun. It was a walking party. After walking with basically one person in CDT, I was just like, I wanted to be in the pack on the PCT. It was fun.
Do you have any tips for getting a leave? You mentioned you worked a little overtime to make it happen for one of them, but is there anything in particular that you think you do especially well that allows them to give you that time off?
I'm a big believer that the universe is listening. So you don't say, I hope work is going to come. Say, hey, I'm going to go do this. And then when you hit a barrier, that stops you from doing that, it says, well, what's possible now? Like, what's possible now? Like, what can I do now? So you don't say, I hope they give me the time off. That's like you dream up something and you go do it. You figure out what you need to do.
I like the idea of putting in the leave request so early that they forget. That's clever.
It works good.
Yeah.
So all cubicle workers out there, listen to this. Put in leaf slip for 3 years from now. They won't know what to do with it.
That's the opposite of what I did for the Ozark Trail. For the Ozark Trail, I told them the day before. I was like, I got something to say.
Yeah, I've never quit. I've never even thought about quitting.
You probably do good work though, where you aren't easily replaceable.
I think I'm a pretty productive employee. I think all the young guys think I'm kind of crazy though. So.
You mentioned that the PCT was a party. How many people were starting the day that you started?
I did start. It was the second to the last year of the kickoff, and before they limited it and all that stuff. So there's probably like 300 people out there walking. There was, I would say, like 700-800 people to kick off. It was fun. There was a big rainstorm, and there was flash floods and rains. That they're like, it never rains at the kickoff. All the little snake holes and like holes it all kind of liquefied, and everybody's tents and tarps like sunk into the ground, and people were sleeping in puddles. The tent sellers sold like a lot of tents that day because all the people's tarps blew down. And, but I'd say there was like a group of like 700 people starting after the kickoff.
Damn.
Yeah, it was.
Is that that's pre-permits or no?
Yeah. It was 2014. I think the last year of the kickoff was 2015. They had a kickoff, right. And so it was. It was before permits. And
what was it like starting with that? I'm assuming 700 is an exaggeration.
Yeah, probably is.
But what is it like starting? Because you get people that will go to do the PCT now, and they get frustrated if they don't get a permit, and there's ways to knock out anything. But from someone who did it pre-permits and pre-regulation, what was it like hiking when anyone could just start and the trail had that many people?
Well, I mean, you met people from all around the country, and people from super skilled to people that's their first trip ever that read the book The Wild. We made a lot of fun of that book that summer because and I was like, guys, it's not about the PCT, it's about her mom. But starting off like there was a guy that died of heat stroke the first day, and I hear the helicopter coming in. I was like, oh, they're rescuing somebody because I do search and rescue stuff, and with that many people, people should have been watching for each other and said, hey, let's get you in the shade, let's get some water. So there was a lot of people that didn't know what they're doing, but it was really cool to see those people. Like there's these two people, leftovers in Tabasco, that was their first backpack trip ever. I think they like worked in Walmart and Oklahoma or something like that. And I loved watching those guys. Those guys finished and watching them progress and learn. And yeah, so there was a guy that showed up with an entire tent made out of Tyvek. Everything was like taped together. It was like an old like pup tent from Boy Scouts with the door and the foot walls and noisiest thing on the planet with the wind that night. Brand new Tyvek taped together. I never saw him again after the kickoff.
What was it like at the first? Because everyone when they start, they either camp at Hauser Creek or they try to push it to Lake Morena and get over that last final climb. Mm-hmm. Were those just like covered in people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was a walking party. It was fun.
That was the reason they got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've said now a couple times, walking party, that you enjoyed it. But given your backpacking history after the PCT, you definitely gravitated to a more isolationist style backpacking. While being able to enjoy it, did you know that you preferred having something with a bit more isolation?
I'm not in isolation. I'm not somebody that likes to go in the woods and be like, I'm all by myself. I love seeing people in the national forest, using their forest in the forest that they own. But hiking the Four Corners Loop wasn't like, oh, I want to get away from people. It was really just like, whoa, there's this circle there. I want to hike this. There was only 4 nights the entire Four Corners Loop where I camped next to somebody else with a tent. And most of those were right around when I melded in with where the Four Corners Loop meets in with the Continental Divide Trail for a little bit and the Colorado Trail for a little bit. And then I'd camp next to somebody. I didn't shut up the whole time. The guy's probably like, dude, shut up. One night I talked, and the guy eventually had to say, hey, stop talking. I need to sleep. But it was only 4 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I know we could talk more about your past backpacking, but I definitely wanted.
But PCT was amazing.
Yeah,
it was. All 3 trails are a little bit different.
Yeah. So you gave us the inspiration for it. Looking at the map, you thought it was a really interesting feature that should be explored. Walk us through the process of actually devising this specific route.
So planning a long route. I felt like I had prior experience from the Continental Divide Trail where I literally highlighted these giant 7.5 minute series maps. So I nowadays I used CalTopo or StarTopo, and I would zoom in, and I would look for trails, and if there wasn't trails, I'd look for like maybe dilapidated Jeep roads. I really tried to stay off paved roads, or cross country, and I was really going for a circular shape. I didn't want to like wander all over the place like some, and I didn't want to link it up with other trails that if somebody's going to do this, they probably already did the CDT. They might have already done the Hayduke Trail. They might have already done the Arizona Trail. So I really tried to not put it on those trails. Arizona Trail a little bit in the northern part, I couldn't avoid it. There were some places I couldn't avoid matching the same trails, but lot of satellite time, and like for finding my water sources, I would turn on 7.5 minute series later, look for the little windmills or springs, and then I'd bring in the satellite image and I'd zoom in and be like, is there something kind of green there? Because I didn't have a water report, so I just kind of looked for green blotches.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's kind of green there. I'm gonna mark that as a water point. So I peppered it with water points. So somebody is Buck 30. You guys had him and Steady are right now. It depends on the snowfall, he said, but they're planning on repeating it next year, this year, which really excites me.
Yeah.
But he would write me, and he kind of like said, "Hey, Animal, you need to get your water sources in line." I had different descriptions and too many of them, and so I spent a bunch of time recently. But it's just computer time.
Yeah.
And just I had so much computer time. I was like a bobsled rider where I knew the course. Like I had it memorized.
Yeah.
And I never even used my maps. I printed out 11 by 17 right in the rain waterproof maps, double-sided, inkjetted. It's like 280 pages of maps. I never looked at them. I read them in the 10 at night.
If you had to estimate, how many hours do you think you spent like scouting the trail beforehand
on
Cal Topo?
3 years. Yeah,
Wow.
when I got the idea, I went home and started looking at Cal Topo.
Wow.
I spent 3 years.
Yeah.
Like dialing it in.
And you mentioned that you were looking a lot at the satellite. So are you looking at marked trails on the map, or you want to visually see a trail via the satellite layer?
I would use the trail layer for finding marked trails on the map, and then I'd draw my line on it. I didn't snap the line to it. I spent a lot of time putting dots in the map, like say on graveyard shift when nothing's happened at 2 a.m. I'd be sitting there putting dots in the map. So Cal Topo says it's 2,300 miles. My iPhone, said I walked 2,485 miles. So it's probably somewhere in there.
Yeah, because we had a guest recently, Bailey, who created her own route through Colorado, and she mentioned that a lot of the trails that were marked on various GPS apps ended up not being there when she actually stepped foot on the trail.
Yeah. They can turn it into a bushwhack fest.
Yeah. Did that happen to you pretty?
Oh, yeah. So there's some bushwhack fests. And like even but I love bushwhack. I'm from Washington State. Every hike across the Cascades one year, I had this friend Dane Hayes like, hey, let's go do this route I laid across. One of the trails turned out to not even be there, even though it showed a trail. And he got blisters his first day, so he was wearing flip-flops. So I ended up calling him camel toe at the end of the thing because his socks, were shaped, But I'm really good at bushwhacking, so I like it.
Yeah.
New Mexico is easy. Utah, I think it'd be very hard to bushwhack in some places like those little the oak sage, the scrub oak. They're really hard to get through, and you want to like make yourself shrink like a tiny little deer. And there was some pretty gnarly bushwhacking getting up to the Skyline Drive in Utah.
So I wanted to actually draw a parallel to Bailey's as well, because she did some. Sorry, I got distracted. She did some of her own route finding, and when we asked if there was a place to find it, she was saying, well, part of the beauty of it is you get to make your own trail. So she almost doesn't put it out there because she encourages people to create a route that they think would be the most fun for themselves.
Yeah.
But something I noticed that you mentioned was that when you were choosing where the route would go, you didn't want it to overlap too many of these other trails that people would have already done.
Mm-hmm.
So were you thinking about it as something that you were creating for other people to then go do after from the beginning?
Yes. Yeah, I saw this and I was like, this could be the first circular national scenic trail. Since then, it still could be a national scenic trail. I made a website. It's called Four Corners Loop Trail Association. It's like the PCTA.org. Somehow I got FCLTA.org, and I was envisioning it for something. I don't think it should be somebody's first through hike. There's too big of water carries, but when I go back, I want to go back when I would zoom in and satellite view. Cow paths are great trails. And there's a lot of cow paths in the West. So I'd zoom in and find cow paths, and I'd snap my line to cow path trails. But like the lady that you mentioned, I want this to morph. I did not hike the perfect loop. I want people in those states. I have some stuff on my website for, if people in these states, the communities know something better. Like if I went up this canyon and the locals like, nah, this is way better here. I want it to morph and change, kind of like the Conant Levite Trail, how it developed. Mm-hmm. I'm not. If somebody's, it's really a big loop. It's got an 800-mile diameter on it. So if it changes, 5 miles this direction, 5 miles that direction, it's still gonna follow the big loop.
Mm-hmm. Can we zoom in a bit and talk some more about the specifics of the route itself?
Yeah.
Specifically where it goes. And it looks like you divide the route by state. So I'll leave it to you as to which state makes the most sense to start with.
So I started in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the reason why bless you.
Sorry, I got some of that on me.
The reason why I started in Santa Fe, New Mexico is because it's a circle. So you can start anywhere. You could probably section hike this and start in all kinds of different places. But looking at the weather I was concerned about flash floods in the slot canyons in Utah, and then I needed the snow to melt in Colorado, but I also didn't need to get to Utah because you get up to 11,000 feet in Utah. I needed the snow to melt up there. It just kept driving me to start in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it's an amazing town. It's a great place to start it. It's got this hotel called La Fonda on the Plaza that I think has been where people slept there since 1610. It's one of the oldest locations, in the United States where people have spent the night. And so that's what started. So I hiked south along a rail trail, like a bike path getting out of town. There's a few private property issues getting out of Santa Fe, but then I go over the Sandia Mountains, and don't call them a hill. The locals will get really mad at you.
Can I pause you for a second? Because I'm watching the map on your website on fclta.org while you talk. Are we in the center of the loop going clockwise?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Like on the yellow line?
We're gonna go clockwise.
Okay, so on this yellow line that says, right here is where we're talking right now?
Nope, starting the purple line, New Mexico, right there, right where the CC says where I start. Right there.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. If you're listening along, go to fclta.org and it'll be interactive.
Yeah. So, I have about 26 resupply points along the way. They're all pretty equally divided. So I hike out of Santa Fe, but then I basically hike part of the Grand Enchantment Trail, which I learned about. Shows how much research I do. I learned about the Grand Enchantment Trail about a week before I started. And it turns out where I laid my route was pretty much almost exactly where the Grand Enchantment Trail was laid. So a little bit of that. So we went over the Socorros, Manzanos, down to Socorro, New Mexico. I had to go south of this big national wildlife refuge because you can't sleep. There's the Seville, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but there's this giant national wildlife refuge. I wanted to walk right through it. You can't camp in it. So I had to go kind of south of it. And then I cut across the Cibola National Forest north of the Very Large Array, which there's some private property issues there too, into Pytown, New Mexico. It was awesome meeting Nita there.
Is that the most difficult part of making the route, is avoiding private property?
This loop, since it's on mountains and a lot of mountain ranges are national forest lands, like 99% of this route is public land. Okay. There's the private property areas where you had to go north of them, and I ran into some private property signs, to be honest, that I didn't know, that I was like, ooh, you always see the backside of the sign. My favorite was when no trespassing for any reason, then it was italicized and underlined for any reason whatsoever. That's my favorite one. But like Buck 30's really working on not crossing some places where I crossed. So
okay, sorry to derail you.
So I go through New Mexico. Each state's about 600 miles. Enter into Alpine, Arizona, and then I'm kind of following the General Cook Trail and the Mogollon Rim across the General Cook Trail, and that's a trail named after a general that basically drove the Apaches, into the reservations back in the day, and go through Forest Lakes, Arizona, which is probably the worst town on the Four Corners Loop.
Why is that?
It's overrun by what I call little lawnmowers, those UTVs.
Little lawnmowers. I thought you said little lawn whores.
That's what I heard too.
What are those?
No, the UTVs sound like little tiny lawnmowers to me, driving around with their big boom boxes in the forest. It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
But I needed to go to Forest Lakes to get a resupply. Then I followed the Highline Trail in Arizona over to the Arizona Trail, and then I took that up to the Grand Canyon, and went over the top of Humphreys Peak, slept on top. Found out when I got down the other side I wasn't supposed to sleep above like 11,000 feet, but I walked up the east side of it, so I didn't see any signs.
Why weren't you supposed to sleep above 11,000 feet?
Well, I love sleeping on top of mountains. When I came down the other side, I just ran into this sign that said no camping above this elevation. I had no clue.
So does the Arizona portion follow the Arizona Trail primarily through the state?
Yeah, and the Grand Canyon Park, I had this crazy route of going down into the Grand Canyon, hitchhiking across the Palisades area by some rafters. I was hoping to get a steak dinner out of them, and then go up through the Neck Weep Trail and come out of the Grand Canyon. the park really wants to stick people to the Arizona Trail, and the reason why I say I didn't do that because you've seen that movie. What is the National Lampoon's Vacation? So I got to the Grand Canyon and took one picture, and I had to go get off trail and go to Denver. That was the one area that my mom was passing away, so I had to get down to Phoenix and fly up to Denver and spend 13 days with my mom as she passed away from basically pneumonia.
Oof.
And so my wife flew down to Denver and we did some hiking around here and got to love my mom for 13 days before she passed away.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah, so I was proving it out. So I didn't do the Grand Canyon, but I know people can walk through the Grand Canyon. People hike it all the time. So I took a plane from Denver to Salt Lake City and then down to Cedar City, Utah. And every retired person I knew was in Utah for some reason. So I just put on Facebook, I need a ride to Kanab. And man, that was the scariest part of the trip, having an 85-year-old drive you to Kanab. Sorry, Deborah. But so then I started again just outside of outside of Buckskin Gulch, so people can go through Buckskin Gulch if they want. And then I walked up the Paria River to Kodachrome State Park, and went to a town called Canyonville, got a resupply in Henrysville. Then I walked bunch of cross country and various stuff. It's hard to describe, but I walked to Escalante. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to do the Boulder Mail Trail from Escalante to Boulder, Utah.
Sorry, just to back up a little bit, trying to orient myself. Are you on a trail for this section once you enter into Utah, or is this more just
no? It's a lot of cross country. It's the Paria River is 3 days of walking up basically a sandy river basin. It's amazing. Nobody's there. I didn't see anybody in it.
That's awesome.
I walked the Paria River. Well, okay, let me change that story a little bit. I saw one person. This guy that picked me up hitchhiking out of Kanab, he's like, oh, I could only drive you like 10 miles. I was like, I'll take anything. And then he's driving, and he's like, hey, I got to go check something out real quick. And he just turns down this dirt road. Well, okay, this is kind of weird. And he's driving, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for my trailer, and he somehow can't find it. I was like, why does this guy not know where his trailer's at? And then we go down this little dusty road, and there's this dumpy trailer sitting there. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. And, am I going to get murdered and, buried out here in the desert? But then he just says, you want a sandwich? And he just pulls out this cooler, makes me this amazing sandwich. And then we sit there and eat a sandwich. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll drive you all the way to the Buckskin Gulch trailhead.
Oh, it was like a vibe check?
I don't know. He was kind of strange. I didn't tell him where I was going after that. So then when I left him, like 3 days later, when I'm walking up the Paria, there's this old dilapidated ghost town called the Paria. It's not the Paria contact station. Anyways, I see these people and I'm like, it's the guy with his wife. I finally get to meet his wife they talk about. I ran into this guy. I didn't even tell him I was going there. It was weird. Huh. And yeah, we just ran into. I'm like, hey, how you doing again? Thanks for the ride.
Yeah.
And the sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting a serendipitous sandwich is way better than getting murdered.
Yeah. Trail magic was the best genuine trail magic I've had in my life on this trail. Like in coming into Arizona, and this lady, she's like, what are you doing? Because I guess she boondocks campsters a lot. She's like, come over here. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm hiking this little loop around the Four Corners. And
little.
And she's just like, well, you need to give my kids a geography lesson. I'm like, okay. So I come over. She has 10 kids. And so I start telling them about the loop and geography and everything. And then so she invites me into her trailer. She's like, well, I'm going to cook you some pancakes. I was like, Mom, hold on. You got like 10 kids to feed. She's like, they've already eaten. And anyways, it was great trail magic. I see why our kids don't want to eat because those pancakes are pretty dry. But
I like the subtle jabs.
It was great. I know, it was a great time.
My wife did not tell that part of the story, but that's what makes it. But I mean, it was awesome trail magic. I mean, the people. I'm writing a book on it right now, and the people. It's going to celebrate the people I met along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow.
So we're in Utah. Let's go back to Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Escalante, and I also wanted to look at the locals. If the locals said, hey, you should really do this. So the locals said, no, go down the Escalante River and go up this thing called Death Hollow to the Boulder Mail Trail. And it's absolutely amazing. And I think the reason why they call it Death Hollow, because it's just covered by poison ivy everywhere. But luckily I didn't get it. But, went to Boulder, then Boulder, Utah. Then I walked up over Boulder Mountain, then up through Capitol Reef National Park.
And this is all still just pure cross-country route finding?
Up high in Boulder Mountain, I was a little bit on the Great Western Trail for a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of... It's route finding, but there was a lot of cow trails. I mean, cow trails are everywhere. There was. So I spent so much time looking in. I did have trails in a lot of places. I wasn't just pushing through the bushes the whole way. But Capitol Reef National Park, Spring Canyon, 26 miles going up this canyon in a national park. Didn't see one person. Had the whole thing to myself.
Wow.
And then from there, I had the biggest gain of like 7,000 feet getting out of that canyon at about 102 degrees, carrying 11 liters of water, getting up out of the canyon. I carried a lot of water. So if people like lakes and they don't like carrying water, they're going to hate this trail. There's barely any lakes.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of lakes, and you got to carry a lot of water.
You did mention at the start of us going through this loop, which I want to continue the zoomed in view, but you did mention that there is a lot of water carries. What is the typical length of a water carry on this trail?
I'd say I consistently carried at least 5 to 7 liters. A lot of times, sometimes 9, a couple times 11, one time's 14 and a half liters. Yeah. And my biggest stretch in between water sources was 56 miles.
Wow.
That's actually not too bad compared to the PCT. Granted, there are caches, but there was one that was 42 miles.
Yeah, like on Hat Creek Rim or something like that.
Yeah, I won't remember, but there was a cache, which you put an asterisk next to it when there is.
Like I wouldn't use PCT. I would not use water people put out. As for emergencies, I would drink a beer if somebody left a beer on anything. But
priorities.
But I wouldn't. I did get into South Lake Tahoe on 4 beers because I was out of water. But I mean, it was PBR. It's kind of like water. But so yeah, I was packing a lot of water. But the water I found was clean. Like I have so many filters at home. I will never have to buy a filter the rest of my life because I barely use any filters and straight stuff through coffee filters, which takes forever. But so New Mexico or Utah, it was phenomenal. People were amazing. But then you started climbing out. You got up high to like 11,000 feet, and then you shot up along the Skyline Drive, which is a Jeep road. But it's amazing. It's like about 130 miles long, and you're at 11,000 feet, and you just look to the east for the sunrises, and you got the west, and you got the sunset. So you got 130 miles of walking through aspen trees, and right at kind of timberline, and 200-mile views on each side. It's phenomenal.
Wow. And what's the closest town or landmark I can look at for this stretch?
Ephraim, Utah. So it's if you go east of Ephraim, Utah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
So you just did this climb up Capitol Reef.
Well, it came out of Capitol Reef. Yeah, which that went up to Thousand Lake or Thousand Island Mountain. It was awesome. Got up in the aspen trees. There's some dried, nasty lakes up there.
Okay, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
So we're on the Skyline Drive, and so that's east of Ephraim, Utah. And then eventually I had to drop off the Skyline Drive, and I ran into a sheep herder and his giant sheepdogs, big white sheepdogs. And these dogs were not happy with me. Like, they weren't going to bite my legs off. That was the one animal I was scared of, is people's dogs. It was not bears or not even skunks. I've been sprayed in the teeth by a skunk before.
In the teeth?
Yeah, I don't recommend
How'd
it.
you get your teeth so close to a skunk's butt?
I'm in one of the Henry Shire tarp tents.
Yeah.
And then they put the bottoms in them. I have a really early one when they didn't have the bottoms in them, and I called them up and said, "Hey, I love your tent without the bottoms." And they're like, "Well, the bottom fell out of the market." I love that joke. But Anyways, I'm in this old Henry Star's tarp tent, and I hear something. And I was like, oh, there's a mouse in here. And I was grabbing this my headlamp, and I karate chopped this skunk right in the gut, right behind me, and it sprayed me like right in the face.
What did it taste like?
It was pretty nauseous. It was awful. It was greasy. It's really hard to get out.
I hate that.
Does it taste like it smells?
So I don't smell very well, so I don't have a good sense of taste or smell. It was just nauseous. And then, so picture a logging town with a bunch of rough, burly loggers, like Forks, Washington. You know, what's that movie? The vampire movies.
Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight
Yeah.
and Forks, Washington. So picture that town, misty, dark, and I'm just like in big old rough loggers, and I come off the beach, and I'm like, well, I guess I gotta get tomato juice. So I go into the town grocery store, get tomato juice, and then so I mean, it takes a lot to get kicked out of a grocery store in Forks, Washington, and I got kicked out of the grocery store.
How did they say it?
They're just like, just get something and get out of the store.
They yelled at you?
Oh yeah, because I had my tomato juice, and then I'm like, God, I'm hungry. What do I want? You know how you wander up and down each aisle, kind of looking for what inspires you to eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, and they kicked me out.
Wow.
So-
How much effort does it take to get skunk juice off of your face? And imagine you've got a beard at this point, right?
Well, that was a separate story. I wasn't bearded then.
Okay.
It takes a while for your wife to want to sleep with you again.
I bet.
Yeah, did you tell her before or after you kissed her?
Oh, she knew. Yeah, I was pretty awful. So I didn't really have any really big wild animal encounters on the Four Corners Loop. So where did that skunk thing? Anyways, so
I think dogs was the
yeah. Yo, I see the sheepdogs, and they're not happy with me because they're flock sheep. They're driving their shirt, and I just spread the sheep, went everywhere, and these dogs are just like we're working here, like come on. And so that turned into a total brush crash. So I head off into the bushes and some old trail that turned out to be not even there. And one of the worst brush crashes I've been in my life to get down into Spanish Fork, Utah. So we're at Spanish Fork. So then it's busy road. So the best way around a busy road to get a ride into town is when you see somebody stealing round rocks in a national forest, offer to help him load his truck. And that's how you get a ride into town.
Why do people do that?
He said he was going to make a retaining wall out of these. So it was just like big round rocks. He's loading them up off the side of the hill. So I was like, that's my ticket. Because it was a busy road. People driving like 60 miles an hour. It's really hard to get a hitch at that. And then so I left there, went through this place called Fifth Creek Hot Springs, and it's really nice to get down to your birthday suit in the hot springs, but not when you're in Utah. So I had to it was a family kind of place, but it was really awesome hot springs. I loved it. So the trail should always go through there. It's a really great hot springs. There's 2 hot springs on the trail, that trail, and then in Colorado, Valley View Hot Springs, which ends up being a nudist camp. So it's kind of like that was fun too. But so then then you climb up again. You're just in aspen. Utah has aspen trees and more aspen trees. And then I saw some moose. And then I got to Camas, Utah, just before the Uintas. And you think spending 3 years researching this, I would have known there's no hotels in that town. I just kind of assumed there'd be a hotel in that town. There's nothing to sleep. And so I'm like, what do I do? So I got an Uber ride over to Park City, Utah to the hostel. Had a great time there. So
how often are you sleeping indoors on this trip?
I had 26 resupply towns. So, each resupply town I would, get a hotel and clean up and shower. And some of them I would narrow in, narrow out. A couple of them, key ones like Park City, I zeroed in. So I spent 2 nights at the hostel. So out of the, 170 days, out on trail, 26 of them were in towns.
Mm-hmm. So if it's 2,300 mile long trail, 26 resupply stops, you're averaging about 80, 90 miles between towns?
Yeah, that's good. One of them is 164. So after I left Camas, Utah, I had a 164-mile trek across the Uintas.
With water carries?
Well, so finally I got up to Uintas. That's finally where you hit lakes.
Oh, okay.
There's lakes everywhere up there.
That's a nice compromise.
So you're up at 11,000 feet, and you're on the longest east-west mountain range in the lower 48, and it's amazing. So you're not carrying a lot of water there, but so then I hiked 164 miles. But there's a lot of 130 130 miles, 120 miles, couple of 70-mile carries. But
are you following the Uinta Highline Trail?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just one more, like, understanding the context question. How many miles are you slash a typical person? How many miles would you expect to average a day?
I averaged about 18 miles a day hiking. So actually, like I had about 140 full days on the trail hiking. So I would do about 18 miles a day. You know, you'd get some days where you get 26 miles, 23 miles. The day that I post-holed in snow for 14 hours, I had about 14 miles. So that was about my shortest day.
And I see, obviously, you've got the maps. Are you using a GPS app as well?
I just have my phone with the CalTopo app on it. Didn't really use it much. Who's that? That's my phone. I didn't put it in.
Oh.
We'll ignore that.
Yeah.
We can hold if you want to.
Okay.
Minimize the.
I'm just going to kill it because it's probably my dad.
Looks like the Bills are up.
14-0. They had a fumble recovery, and Garrett's like live texting me, and I'm like trying to swipe. I turned my phone upside down. And they also did like a defensive shutdown, or I don't know the wording. Apparently, they just got the ball right back.
Oh, turnover on downs?
No, what did he say?
Okay.
Turnover?
It was a immediate defense shutdown. Steelers had 3 downs and didn't do anything. Steelers had the ball for, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting the text.
Nice.
I'm focused.
Yeah.
Flip the phone over.
Back to backpacking. You went the Highline Trail over to where?
So I had to drop down in Vernal, Utah, and I wasn't thinking much about where I was just like, this is just an oil drilling town, nothing too exciting. I had a blast there. When you walk into Vernal, Utah, and it happens to be like a big PBR professional bull riding weekend, it sounds great. You have a good time.
Yeah.
And so I zeroed there, and it was really funny. Like, so everybody had their big cowboy hats on and the cowboy vest and everything. And so here I have these really short shorts on, and I'm at my first rodeo ever, and these cowboys are like looking at me, and this guy's giving me a hard time, and I'm like, pretty nice legs, aren't they? And anyways, I'm surprised I didn't get beat up, but his girlfriend kind of held him back. But Vernal, Utah was great. Went to the dinosaur museum and rested there, and so I dropped out of the Uintas, and then I hike into Dinosaur National Monument, go do the tour stuff, see all the dinosaur bones, which is cool. But the permits, so there was 4 national parks I go through. They kept getting easier as you went along. Grand Canyon was like pretty bureaucratic, and I had my permit, and I was blown away. I got there a day before my permit was going to happen, walking from Santa Fe, New Mexico, so I was right on time. And it wasn't like trying to make it on time. It just naturally, I was right on time. And then Capitol Reef didn't know what to do with me. So they're like, well, we'll just use the Hayduke process on you. So I got my permit for Capitol Reef. When I got to Dinosaur, they're like, yeah, just show up. We'll give you a permit. So I walk up, and I'm like, and they got an 11-page letter from me telling them what I was doing and my route and everything. And they're like, you want to do what? You want to walk across Dinosaur National Monument? Like, we don't think anybody's ever done that before. They're like, you're only the 4th backcountry permit we've given this year. So they ask a lot of questions. And then get my permit. I'm walking out, and this park law enforcement vehicle drives by me with their lights flashing. And they park like a quarter mile down the road. Their lights flashing the whole time. So I'm walking along, and I'm like, gee, I wonder why they're parked with their lights flashing. And I come up to them, and they're like, are you Mr. Koski? Yeah, I am. Well, we're here to do a little bit of preventative SAR measure on you. And so we stood there and talked for half an hour with their lights flashing. And turns out we knew some of the same park rangers in Olympic National Park. So we're really just BSing. And after the half an hour, I'm like, you realize nobody's going to talk to me now because they all think I'm a criminal. but so that's where you cross into Colorado and Dinosaur National Monument. And the one scary thing climbing up this 30-foot sandstone cliff is not going to be the way to go. I'm writing about that in my book. I'm glad I didn't slip. So, but
did you know that was going to be such a big cliff when you were routing it out?
This one cliff that I scurried up, I had to get down to the Yampa River to get water. And then I loaded up with 11 liters of water down the Yampa River. And I looked at this spot for like 2 years, like on Saturday. I'm like, yeah, I think there's a trail. And I even wrote the park a letter. It's like, you got this ranger that knows everything about the park. They never wrote me back. So I convinced myself this was the way to go. And if I would have just walked across somebody's private parcel out in the middle of nowhere and they would have never had it, I wouldn't have almost fallen off this cliff. But I came up this cliff and it's not the way to go. It was like 30 feet of sandstone, of palming with your feet and having your backpack off in front of you, just scooching up. It was pretty sketchy.
Yeah. So if you're going to reroute that part, what would you do?
Just stay above it. Maybe drop down in the Yampa River, get your water, then come back out of the Yampa River, out of the canyon, the slot canyon that I went down. I think that's the key. Yeah. But you're in Colorado, and so that goes through Maybell, Utah, and I walk into Maybell, and I'm like, I've made it to Maybell. And the old timer sitting in this store's like, no, you haven't. You've made it to Maybell. I guess you're from Colorado. Is that you know Maybell, Colorado?
No, but I just like picturing someone cracking themselves up at a joke like that.
It's Maybell. Anyways, I guess it's named after two daughters named May, or two sisters named May and Bell. And I'm finding a tough time finding the reality of that, or the facts of that, in my book I'm writing right now. So then I loaded up with 14.5 liters of water. I had this 47-mile stretch. It was over 100 degrees out. I didn't think there was any water out there. So I walked down to Meeker, Colorado. Got there with a gallon of water still on me. And then after Meeker, Colorado, my water issues were done. Then I went up into the Flat Tops Wilderness in Colorado, came up and then dropped down into Glenwood Springs. And remember in 2021 when they had those big rainstorms and the debris flows came down in Glenwood Springs and closed the free I-70?
Yeah.
Well, that's right when I came into Glenwood Springs. So it was amazing being in Glenwood Springs with no freeway traffic. Like hitting the hot springs up, and it was quiet. And
was the trail washed out as well? Like, was it noticeably?
No. I mean, I was just on trails up in the wilderness up there. I was in the middle of that rainstorm that caused the flood. I mean, it was a big rainstorm. Yeah. But it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was anything that significant. But it, probably a couple inches of rain came down.
Yeah. Oh.
So then so we're in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So then I'm on the south side of I-70, so I shoot up and over down to this town called Meredith, which is just a post office. It's just kind of a post office.
Another daughter.
Yeah, another Meredith daughter by Rudy Reservoir, or Rudy Reservoir. It was pretty, just tiny little old school post office in the middle of nowhere. Then I just got some food, didn't even stop. Then I continued up through, got to Independence Pass in Colorado. So that's where I kind of really started seeing people. And then I was on the Colorado Trail, Cottonwood Trail, took that down to Cottonwood Pass. As a bonus, I decided to shoot down to Buena Vista, Colorado to get a night, because I needed to slow down, because then I got back and got to, what is it called, a Monarch Pass. And then my dad picked me up and drove home to Denver and went to my mom's funeral. So it was nice. They held off my mom's funeral for me to get back to Colorado. And then so he dropped me back up at Monarch Pass, came up over Olancha. No, Olancha Peak. That's on the PCT. Ouray Peak. Slept on the top at 13,900 and some odd feet. So that's the highest point that I slept on the Four Corners Loop. Dropped down, and I was going to skip Salida because I had a resupply there. And I didn't want to ruin it because I had such a good time there on the Cottonwood Trail. Mm-hmm. But I'm coming in, and here's like some cool trail magic. I'm hiking along, and it's almost dark, and this dog comes up, and then this mountain biker comes up, and the guy's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm hiking this little trail around the Four Corners Loop." And he gets unstable, and he steps off his mountain bike, and he collapses to the ground. He's like, "Tell me more." So I'm telling him more, and next thing he was like, "You want to go rafting tomorrow?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." So him and his brother Maddie and a pug and 2 hound dogs. We went R2 rafting down the Arkansas River downstream of Salida, Colorado.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How were the rapids?
It was good. It was my first time ever rafting. So never just doing an R2 with some guy you just met the night before with hound dogs. It was fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Seemed kind of a little dangerous, but it worked out really good.
Yeah.
He'll be my friend the rest of my life. The guy that picked me up rafting. So
that's awesome.
So we're in Colorado. We're in Salida, Colorado. Then I didn't want to go down the Conlevai Trail or the Colorado Trail, so I decided to hike the Strawberry Trail, going down the Santa Crisco's.
It's called the Strawberry Trail?
Yeah, there's a trail there called the Strawberry Trail. It's open to like motorcycles, like dirt bikes and stuff, but it was fine. Didn't see any motorcycles on it. It was really pretty, and then it worked into this trail called the Rainbow Trail by West Cliff, Colorado, and I saw a rainbow on the Rainbow Trail. Oh. So I thought that was cool. Hopped over the Santa Crisco's a few times. It was like doing hurdles. And then I came down into Valley View Hot Springs, which ended up being a nudist camp. So I didn't know that. So I was like, can't beat him, join him. So I joined him for a couple nights and I'm doing the hot springs. It's amazing, amazing hot springs.
What does your wife think about you just hanging out in a nudist colony out in the middle of nowhere?
She didn't. Well, that reminds me of a PCT story.
Sounds like you're changing the subject right now.
Let's go.
So you know, like the summer solstice, how it's hike naked day.
Yeah.
So I did hike naked for about 10 minutes in Utah, but I was like, nah, this looks weird when just some guys hiking naked by themselves. Yeah. So, but on the PCT, I guess Maria. Well, so there's 2 guys or 3 guys and 2 gals and Pan and Banana Boat, 'cause she carried a bunch of sunscreen. Pan's like, well, I think the guys should apply sunscreen to the girls should apply sunscreen to the guys. I'm like, okay. So the Hoff, from the Baywatch, the Hoff is a real good Australian looking guy. Spent like an hour applying sunscreen to Pan.
David Hasselhoff?
Yeah. And Banana Boat, I'm slapping it on her. It's like, man, I'm not getting the same treatment. I was like, well, I think it was my girlfriend at the time. I think if my girlfriend probably doesn't mind that I apply sunscreen to naked women, but if I took an hour to do it, she might. But so yeah, she doesn't care.
Nice.
But so then I got myself to the Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, and it's easy to just walk through that in a day, so I didn't really deal with permits there. Walked across sand dunes, had a good time, bringing back childhood memories. And then the private property really started after that. I had to do some road walking down to Fort Garland and then down to San Luis, Colorado to get into New Mexico to avoid, I guess, Ted Turner property or something like that. But there's a lot of private property south of the sand dunes.
Looks like there's a highway that connects those 2 towns. Is that what you hiked?
Yeah, it was actually a nice change of pace. I enjoyed it. It was just like, hey, something different. It was, paved road.
Yeah.
I got off. There was like a little side dirt road that I got on, and San Luis was pretty interesting little town. Had a lot of, like Catholic history to it and stuff. I guess the Pope went there when he came to Denver years ago, and but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was just a good change of pace.
How many road miles would you estimate? And I know not all roads are created equally, but like that style of road walking, how much would you say that you did on this hike?
Let's see, that was probably less than 100 miles.
Wow. How much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot. That was the big stretch there.
Yeah.
I would say of paved road miles, maybe 100. Yeah, 150, less than 150.
Okay.
I've never actually added it up. So. So then you get to New Mexico. In New Mexico, there's some interesting land issues there too, because the land grant process with the Spaniards and different stuff back in the day. So I go through I'm on a road that I can walk on. It's RCCL, the Rio Costelia Cooperative. It's a tongue twister. There's this cooperative co-op, basically, people that own the land. They loved it that I was walking through there. And they had this like campground, and they wanted people to use it. And there's this beautiful stream, and I'm walking along the stream, and I got pretty tan legs right now, and they're pretty muscular. And this lady's like looking me up and down, and then she gives her husband a kiss. She's like, "I'm sorry, honey, but that man has really nice legs." And so he gives me this like smoked trout. that he caught the day before, and he smoked it, and I'm just like shoving this fish in my mouth. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds magical.
Yeah, it really was. And then got back in the National Forest, did some stuff over to Red River, New Mexico, and then I went to Wheeler Peak after that. So you can climb the highest point of each trail. That's right. You could do Humphreys Peak in Arizona. You do walk right by Kings Peak. So you do Kings Peak and the Uintas. I was going to do Mount Albert, but I already did it as a kid, and I needed to get my mom's funeral, so I skipped it. But it's not that far to get off and do Mount Albert. And then I have the route going right up over the top of Wheeler Peak in New Mexico. So then
when you're doing the peak hikes, is this, I know for a lot of like 14ers in Colorado, it's usually like unilateral trail. Like there's not like a trail that goes across from one direction to the other.
Yeah.
Are you doing trail one way up and like an out and back, or are you just following the ridgeline and then going off trail? How does that work?
I was able to carry my gear up and over each one of those.
Okay.
At Kings Peak, it was like 200 yards off the trail, but I did carry my pack to the top of it just because I wanted to. And I guess Albert would be, if you did Albert, if somebody else did this, Albert would be kind of a side trail. Mm-hmm. But definitely Arizona and Wheeler Peak and Humphreys Peak, you can walk right up and over them with your pack. So I go to Angel Fire, New Mexico, resupply, get down, and really then I'm just following the southern Santa Cruz goes all the way back into Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Nice.
So that's the loop.
What a tour.
Yeah. What was wild? I kind of thought about this, like kind of maybe in the middle, is when you look at it on the map and it's a circle. Obviously, it doesn't look that big because it's a circle. But I was sitting here thinking about it while he was talking, that it's longer than the AT. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, even just looking at it on a map, if you were to take it out and straighten it, it still doesn't feel like it could be longer, but it is.
Yeah. The
That's
West
nuts.
is a large place.
I know.
So, a lot of questions.
Okay.
Through the drier stretches, what is the typical source for water? Like, are you going in town and buying 11 liters, or are these cow troughs, or what's the...
I mean, I would leave if I was in a hotel for the night. I would leave with how much water I felt I needed. But I put a lot of time finding water sources. I found New Mexico. You couldn't hike across that state if it wasn't for ranchers. Like there's a lot of like solar powered wells and wind-powered windmills that you find cow troughs. So you're drinking the same stuff the cows are in New Mexico. Less cows in Arizona. So Arizona, there was a lot of springs.
You mentioned not filtering and using like a coffee filter. Are you still...
Yeah, I still had a filter.
Okay, you were filtering.
I mean, I'd say I'm like in Washington State in the Olympics, the Cascades. I don't even carry a filter with me.
That's different.
Yeah, but here different stuff. I expected a lot of muddy, dirty water, so I brought these coffee filters. It takes forever to strain water through coffee filters, and the algae plugs them up, and so I would pre-filter it. And then I also carried a little pump, just the MSR Hyperflow pump. It's not a super ultralight pump. And then I also had some Aquamera.
Mm.
So for like cow trough or well water, you're putting it through the coffee filter first and then running it through your filter? Are you doing like the two-step filter process?
Most places, you know how you have your big stock tank out somewhere, then there'd be a pipe coming out from well and it's just pouring out the end of the pipe. That's where I got most of my water. Like it was really found clean water.
Yeah.
The 56-mile stretch, why it was that long is there was a there was a spring that was dry. And I kind of got lucky in that stuff. I ran into some New Mexico spotted owl biologists early in that section, and they're like, "Want some water?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good." They're like, "Well, we're just going to dump it out." I was like, "Well, okay, I'll take a couple liters from you." I didn't know I was going to have a dry spring after that. And then it also snowed on me in that section, so I had some snow. And so and it was cold. So that I think if it was hot, that'd be a lot harder. I was blown away with how good the water was. I mean, I have so many water filters for the rest of my life. Those little hollow tube. I'll never buy a water filter the rest of my life because I bought so many for this trip.
Okay. That part where you had said that, I heard I will never buy a water filter for the rest of my life. And that's why I was like, that's bold to not filter cow stuff. But okay.
No.
Now I collected the rest of it.
Yeah, I definitely like to, I didn't want to get Jardy out there.
And so you just mentioned it snowed on you, and then you were talking about how it just snowed on you. What is the weather window for hiking this trail? what are the months that are usually good?
I started March 26th and finished on September 8th, which actually was the day I thought I was going to finish. It's amazing how I finished on the day that my calculations said I was going to finish. But there was 13 days in there where I was in Denver, and I skipped the Grand Canyon. But I think I started a little early. Like I think I had a drier year starting off. I think like Buck 30 said, he's like, hey, if it snows a lot, I might not do it this year. He's got all kinds of stuff he wants to do. But and like maybe Albuquerque, New Mexico might be a better place to start to avoid some snow in the beginning. But I really think I think you could start a little bit later than I did, but you really gotta get through New Mexico, and then you gotta get through the Slot Canyon lands in southern Utah before it really starts heating up.
Are you worrying about flash flooding when you go through the Slot Canyon areas?
So I was, and that's what really dictated why I went clockwise, not with counterclockwise. You wouldn't get through Colorado; it's too much snow, and so the start time was chosen because of flash flooding, and it really got you there during the time of year when there are the least chance of flash floods and stuff. So it worked out great.
How are you keeping track with the weather updates for the canyons when you are that far out there?
So like the Big Slot Canyon, like Buckskin Gulch, right before you get into that, you're probably in a town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're probably in Kanab or something like that, resupplying. So you'd probably get some. I had amazing cell service the whole summer.
Oh.
Yeah, you're up on these high ridges and there's stuff below. It's amazing how much. I mean, I did Facebook videos all summer, and I really had a lot of cell service. Places where it was the worst was probably in Colorado.
Who's your cell provider?
I call it the drug dealer phone, track phone. No, I think it's Verizon Network, but track phone. Yeah. My wife and I didn't get cell phones till 2017. So I hiked the Four Corners Loop, or the CDT and the PCT without a cell phone.
2017,
Damn.
that's a holdout.
Yeah, I really held out for a long time.
Yeah.
Did you have a sat nav, or was it just what happens?
I had a GPS for the CDT, never used it, and then same thing for the PCT, but that's really easy to just follow.
So no inReach or Zoleo for the Four Corners hike?
Oh, for the Four Corners, I just had my cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I had an inReach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I bought that professional plan, like where they think I'm a business, and I spend like $76 a month, so I had as many messages as I could, and I put a little dot out every hour to put it in extended tracking mode, and so I had my webpage program so people could follow me and see where it was every hour all summer long. So I had a big following at home. People followed my route. So.
You mentioned there were quite a few towns that you very much enjoyed. Is there one that stands out to you as your favorite trail town from this?
Well, let's pick one for you. So Santa Fe for New Mexico. Awesome. Fun and amazing. Flagstaff, great food. I think I ate in like 15 restaurants there. So, I really like Flagstaff. And I did a 0 day there, but instead of resting, I rented a mountain bike and went mountain biking all day. And so Flagstaff was great for its food, and it was a great town. New Mexico, not New Mexico, Utah. I didn't think I was going to have fun in Vernal. I had a blast in Vernal, and I think it's because it was the rodeo weekend. So it was really good. And I had a good time in Park City, too, at the hostel. And then Colorado, I really enjoyed Glenwood Springs and Buena Vista. Yeah, and Salida. Yeah.
So if someone wants to follow in your tracks, as Buck 30 might this year, is the route pretty well outlined on the website?
Yeah, I've got it on my website. I've got GPX tracks and Caltopo kind of tracks where people can download it. I've recently made some modifications, corrections to it based off of Buck 30, and I talk back and forth. And it's probably not perfect, but it's somebody can. It's kind of my gift. Like, I don't want to monetize this or anything like this. I just like, hey, I did this. I loved it. I smiled every day, and it's my gift to the world of people who like to walk long distances.
Have you thought about developing like a full guidebook or anything like that? I guess you have to get enough people out.
Yeah,
on the trail
nobody else. Buck 30 is the first person I know is thinking about it.
Yeah.
No, because I don't like reading trip reports. I just don't enjoy it. I can't imagine. Like, I'm writing a book on it right now, and it's not how to hike it. It's going to give the reader who probably has never hiked some of this just to experience the Four Corners Loop. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I'll leave that to other people that enjoy computers more than I do.
So you, from what I've gathered in this conversation so far, seem to be a good storyteller when it comes for like the one-off, oh, also this happened kind of stories.
Yeah.
I want to hear, without like any prompts from us, just like what are some of your standout stories from hiking? Like, what if you had to pick like a story to tell people, what's one of your best?
Oh, from hiking, from all of it. Well, I told the rafting story right now. I mean, I'm really good at telling that to people, where just guys like, especially when you're standing up with the crowd, you can kind of collapse and put some animation into it. And going rafting down the Salida River with Trace and his brother. That's a good story. It's funny. It like, now you ask a question, I'm like kind of drawing a blank. It's just they come to you and you're talking to different people. You're like, oh, this is a good story. My skunk story, it's a pretty good story.
Yeah, I'm fishing for more though.
But
any standout animal encounters wow, now I can speak. Any standout animal encounters besides the skunk?
So on the Four Corners Loop, I only saw 3 bears, and of course the black bears is their rear end you see as they're skedaddling away. No snakes. I think I saw like 1 snake.
Are there mountain lions in the Four Corners Loop?
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Oh,
right? Yeah. They probably saw me. I never saw them.
Where did you see the bears?
Utah. Yeah, and Utah and out of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, I saw a bear. I saw 3 moose. Here's the animal story.
Yes.
Okay, so I felt like I was in America's Serengeti. So I mean, picture that. Picture like seeing 1,000 elk in a day. So I'm going through the Cibola National Forest, New Mexico, and there's a lot of elk there. Like it's even getting better now. I'm remembering the whole story. So I spooked up this herd of about 200 elk, and it's the first one. There's 4 other ones that day, and so I'm filming them. And, they're running away, and they start trotting away. But next thing you know, they're just booking in a line. They're, like, running for their lives. And I filmed them. So later when I look at this film, you can see 4 New Mexico wolves, like New Mexico gray wolves, or whatever the type of wolf they have in New Mexico, chasing these elk in this video. So it was great. I saw 1,000 elk that day. I didn't see it at the time, but in the video you could see these elk, or the wolves chasing these elk.
Wow.
It's amazing. So that's north of the very large array, which I've drawn a route that goes farther north than that now. I think there's some water issues there because that is where I ran into this big private property sign that says, hey, no trespassing. I was kind of cutting north of the very large array. There's some confusing land ownership issues in that area. But I felt like I was in America's Serengeti. There was elk everywhere that day.
Wolves is interesting too.
Yeah, the gray wolves were awesome.
Were they big or were they like coyote sized?
Well, in the video, they look like big wolves in the video. I didn't see them, so there is away from me. But I think it's a smaller wolf that they have down there.
Cute.
If you had to go back and relive like a 1-week stretch of this hike, what would it be?
So 1 week, I'd probably be the Uintas, the Highland Trail in the Uintas.
Yeah,
I loved Utah. Yeah, the Highland Trail in the Uintas was phenomenal.
Were you anticipating it to blow you away that much?
No.
And from the other end of this, if you had to eliminate a 1-week stretch of it, like, is there a part of the trail or route that you didn't enjoy as much?
It's funny. Some people do ask, "Hey, what do you enjoy?" And that's I have a tough time answering that because in Washington, I'm like, "Well, you could hike this trail. I liked it. You could hike this trail. I liked it." None. I loved it all. I in a perfect world, if from the sand dunes, if you didn't have to do those road walks and you could hike through Crestone Needle and Crestone Peaks, I had a route planned up through there, and then there's southern Colorado. There's some mountains I think you could hike through that'd make it a little bit better. But I wouldn't eliminate anything. Yeah, it wouldn't make a circle if you did that.
Yeah.
No.
Nice.
If
Wholesome.
yeah, so you mentioned long water carries. Someone has to be prepared to carry. Would you say it was up to 14 liters?
Yeah, I carried 14.5 liters out of Maybell, Colorado.
Yeah. What other preparation elements, if somebody was listening to this and wanted to follow in your footsteps, what other things should they be aware of?
I mean, you have to have good maps. I think, like, if somebody just downloads my maps and they're like, oh, I'm going to go follow this, you got to spend time studying them and looking at them and dreaming about them. Like, I basically walked the Four Corners Loop in my head a gazillion times in my head, looking at it. And so I knew it's part of these long hikes for me is the planning. I think the planning is really important. It's dreaming it and building up your head and then going and experience what you dreamed. And if something turns out what you were imagining, then it's either better or worse. I mean, you just take it as you come. Like Forest Lakes, Arizona, I thought it was going to be really cool. It's kind of sad to see, all the UTVs tearing up the national forest in that area. But yeah, study. Make your maps like make yourself. I think you have to have the 10 essentials and a paper map, and get that light backpack down so you're not struggling too much. But like, this should not be somebody's first through hike. Yeah, it's I wouldn't say I'm a super experienced hiker. I still feel like I'm a Yahoo hiker, but I'm somebody that doesn't get lost. So yeah.
That's funny because I was actually just about to bring up you saying you don't get lost and you saying you're the human compass. Do you have tips for someone that's getting into route finding besides just like learn how to use a topo map? But do you have tips from like just looking at what's around you or just whatever you do for someone that is new to finding your way?
So one thing, go do trail maintenance. Learn how trails are built. Go learn about like your percent slopes and gradients and get that mindset. Like how trails are constructed. I'm sure there's groups in Colorado do trail maintenance. We have tons of them in Washington. Washington Trails Association is big, because like when I was doing the CDT and we're going through the San Juans, and we'd come up on a drift and we'd be on snow for a quarter mile, and then we'd come down to earth again, and we'd be right above the trail and guarding lines. Like, how do you do that? Because the whole time, you're looking for signs like, cut logs, just changes in the snow texture, benches, slopes. So I think a way to develop that sense of where a good trail placement is to go do some trail maintenance.
You a Tristan Gooley fan?
What?
Tristan Gooley?
No, I don't know who that is.
He writes books on like wild signs and like just things you see in nature and like what they tell you, and it's super interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure who that is.
If you had to estimate how much of this route is off trail, and let's just say something where there's like no trail at all, because you mentioned there's a lot of like cow trails and gravel roads and that sort of thing. What percentage of the time, or maybe you want to assign a number of miles to it, are you like truly just doing cross country style hiking?
Just where you're just fully cross. I'd say less than 100 miles.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more like it's like a little bit here, and you're connecting up. So maybe you're on this old dilapidated Jeep road, and then I'm picturing right now getting up to the Skyline Drive, and then you're like, just navigating your way up to the Skyline Drive. Then you find another thing. So all these little connector pieces, maybe adds up to 100 miles of true just cross-country travel.
Yeah. Also, we love poop stories here on Backpacker Radio.
Yeah.
This could be within the context of the Four Corners Loop or anything throughout your backpacking career, but is there a poop story you want to regale Backpacker Radio listeners with?
God, I'm sure I have lots of them, but I'm trying to think. Oh, I know my wife yells at me when I talk about it.
You're in a safe place here.
Yeah, this is the trust tree.
Yeah, this is a safe spot.
Well, it's good to bury it. Dig, go big or go home. Dig a big hole.
You ever shit your pants?
Once.
I think there's a good start.
Go on.
Not on trail though. Okay, here's my poop story. So my dad was a traveling salesman, and he didn't give me too much. Well, he gave me advice, but maybe not too much. But one day he says, Kevin, just to let you know, emergencies happen. Always carry a clean pair of shorts in your glove compartment. So that's my poop story. My dad said, carry a clean pair of shorts in your glove compartment of your car.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're over time. I think that's a beautiful note to end it on as well. Kevin, please remind people the website, URL address, and where people should go to keep up with you.
So my website, it's my first website ever. It's pretty basic, but it's fclta.org, and that stands for Four Corners Loop Trail Association. And so you can Google it. It comes up right away. And same thing on Facebook. I got a Four Corners Loop Trail Association Facebook page, and I also have an Instagram account for that, and which I don't use much. But yeah, just Google Four Corners Loop Trail Association. It's surprisingly, I get about 2 hits a day, which I don't know if that's a lot. After Six Moon Designs did an article on it, I got 47 hits in one day. That's the most I've ever gotten a day.
Let's see if we can beat that number.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you some encouragement for your Instagram. That's how we found you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I should use it more.
Well, this has been a ton of fun. I'm really appreciative that because we get a lot of people that develop routes that don't necessarily go out and hike the routes, like they're just ideas. So it's very cool to have boots on the ground, and it was fun hearing your telling of it and all the side stories that come along with it. Yeah,
I wanted to prove it out. I really thought it could be a new National Scenic Trail. Now, after I saw at the American Long Distance Hiking Association the West conference, when I saw Blueberry, what's her name? Not Yogi Blue. She was she's done all the 11 National Scenic Trails. Not Yogi. Apple Pie.
Yeah.
So Apple Pie was going south on the Four Corners Loop. She didn't make him sound that exciting. So after hearing her talk about him, so I'm like, maybe it doesn't really need to be a National Scenic Trail, but it's there. It's on public land and it's your land. So if you want to have a good long walk without seeing a lot of people, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show, I want to do another entry on the AT Thru Hiker survey. This edition is the top tents and shelters. Lots of very interesting info in these beyond just the top brands and models, which is usually what I highlight, and today will be no exception. This does a comparison on the different types of tents people use and their satisfaction level. So that means freestanding, trekking pole, tarp, all that good stuff. The various capacities that people used and broken down by if they were hiking with a partner, with a dog, etc. But like I said, I think the thing that most people are interested in is the top tents themselves actually used. And I believe there's only one mover and shaker here in the top 3 compared to last year. Number 1 is still the Z-Pax Duplex. No surprise. Number 2 is a tent that I love very much, is the Big Agnes Tiger Wall UL2. I believe that was my recommendation in our How to Pick a Tent episode. And number 3, which I don't believe was on the list last year, was the Durston Gear X-Mid 2. So shout out to Dan Durston and his company. Seems to be killing it. The fact that they're out on the AT now in such high quantities is impressive. If you guys want even more of a breakdown, we go much deeper than just the top 3 models and brands. You can get all of that through the link in the show notes. Okay. Today's question of the day. Is this a Chance original?
Yeah, this I saw on Instagram, and I thought it was hilarious. The example's funny.
The example is funny.
Question of the day. Which word do you think would make a pretty baby name if it didn't mean what it meant?
Yeah. I'll
example.
Let you go first.
I want to give the example that was on the internet, which was omelet, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
Why are you letting me go first? Because you don't know.
I am stuck between 2, and I think that there might be something better out there for me. So yeah, I'm using this as ponder time.
My mind keeps going to aubergine. Aubergine is the British word for eggplant. That's what they call an eggplant. But aubergine sounds pretty.
Yeah.
And I could see this is aubergine, Aubie, Aubrey.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good one. Although if it means something in a different language, I think it's still fair game, right?
Even but the other language is English.
Yeah, but it doesn't. No one refers to it as that in the U.S.
Yeah, but that's like saying like aluminum versus aluminium. Like it's just like they have a different word for it. Well, granted, that's the same word.
Pronunciations of the same word.
That's like, okay, trunk versus boot, when you're talking about a car.
Yeah.
Same thing.
'Kay.
Aubergine is an eggplant.
Yeah.
And also maybe a delicate baby name.
Yeah.
But that's mine. I'm sticking to it.
I think I was trying to talk myself into Fart. Because if Bart's a name, and I think Bart's kind of a cool name.
What, like a son named Fart?
Yeah. But you can't do that.
You can't.
No. But if you didn't know what the word meant,
Yeah, if you didn't know,
is like fart a cool word?
maybe it could be short for like Fartholomew.
Yeah.
Fartholomew. I don't know. What's your other one? What's the backup?
Queef was the other one. I was trying to talk myself into that too.
You only have one track in your brain, don't
Yeah,
you?
it's not good. It's not good. In my defense, I thought I had a few extra hours to prepare for today's episode, so those were panic.
Well, we could throw
choices.
Rachel under the bus here. Rachel, you're fired.
Yeah, Rachel, you were supposed to deliver this message directly to our text message.
I
thread.
sent her a text that says Rachel's fired, and I didn't give any context. I'm waiting for her to reply.
Yeah. Let's do the Triple Crown.
Sure.
This is a Rachel subject, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Not entirely sure.
This is the Triple Crown of things/ways that help you improve your sleep on trail. This is a big topic. I know a lot of people's sleep on trail sucks real bad, and I've battled with that a lot myself, mostly just because it's being on like a big warm mattress is far more comfortable. But there've definitely been a few things that I can add to the backpacking verse in terms of things that get me to sleep. So unfortunately, most of mine are drugs.
Oh.
Not all the bad drugs, but some of them.
Just the fun ones.
Yeah, just the fun ones. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I will go with magnesium because I already know it's on your list.
Yeah.
Who was it that recommended it in the email? Which past guest said?
Nicole.
Yeah.
She recommended it not for sleep, but for, you said you had restless leg syndrome.
Yes. So this was my big issue on trail. Well, I say was as if I got better. No, this is my big issue on trail, is that I can't stay asleep because my legs will start to spasm and it'll wake me back up. Or like they'll just be like so uncomfortable, like on the edge of cramping, but not cramping yet, but in that kind of like, it's coming phase where you just have to keep like rotating to try to like get them in a good position. And so she had sent magnesium, and I'm in the part of life where I'm trying to understand magnesium. I want to be its friend. But what I'm gathering is there's different types of magnesium for different things. Mm-hmm. And so I've ordered a magnesium spray that I've been using, and you're supposed to spray it on the bottom of your feet before bed and rub your feet together. And it's supposed to, by putting it on the bottom of your feet, it's supposed to like reduce anxiety, help you sleep better, help you fall asleep faster. I can't say I've noticed any differences.
It does sound like snake oil to me.
Yeah, but I
don't even know if your skin effectively absorbs.
I have no idea. But like every night I'm laying on my back in bed, like happy baby pose, rubbing my feet together in the air, like ass out to the world.
Yeah.
Like it's really a weird position I'm in.
Yeah. I'd
but
recommend just ingesting.
The snake oil pages I follow that have like no credibility to them say there's different types of magnesium.
Yeah.
And the different ones you get, like one helps sleep, one helps, so and so and so forth.
Yeah.
So I've got to check my bottle and see what they ship me.
So in my experience, the two ones that are best for sleep is there's magnesium L-threonate, which is the one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So just gives you like a instant sensation of relaxation. The other one is, I think this is the more popular form of magnesium, is magnesium glycinate. I have been big on the magnesium train for a long time because I suffer with migraines. And
you also love trying
I'm a
substances.
Supplement whore for sure.
Like I've tried a slew of things just based on you trying a slew of things.
No, my supplement drawer is out of control.
I'm trying to find the type that I got. I'm going to my Amazon order list.
Yeah.
The one I got is legit when I ordered it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
But I think magnesium glycinate is probably the one that would be the most effective.
Pure magnesium oil. Elaborate. It's got a number 7 on it.
That doesn't mean anything for me.
Definitely garbage I'm using.
Yeah. Yeah, just going. The magnesium's a pretty cheap supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's my first one, magnesium.
Yeah, good. You definitely took that away from me.
Oh, this one's magnesium chloride. What does that do?
That one is supposed to be good for heart health. I know there's a supplement, another supplement I take called MagSlow, and I believe that's good for like your cardiovascular system. I might be speaking a little out of turn here, but I use that one specifically because a doctor that I follow is very pro the magnesium, called MagSlow.
How many vitamins or supplements do you take a day?
Depends on the day. In a pinch, I take one called Advanced Nutrients from Thorne Labs, and it's a multivitamin, but you have to take 8 pills.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's in a pinch? What's not in a pinch?
Then I go through all my individual ones.
How many?
Let's see. I take a B complex. I take, it's a form of niacin, but it's supposed to be good for skin cancer prevention. I take a high dose of B2, which is another thing for migraines. Vitamin D. I take fish oil and a pretty high dosage of it. I take CoQ10 most days. Acetyl L-carnitine. There's certainly more. I'm trying to think. Go through my Rolodex here. Especially when I've been sick of late, if I feel something coming on, I'll take a very high dose of vitamin C.
How are you hungry after eating all these pills?
I used to watch a reality show called Breaking Badaducci, by Danny Badaducci, and he had a line in there that he said he takes so many pills he gets full. But yeah, I take a lot of pills every day.
How much money do you spend on pills a month?
Most of these are pretty cheap. No comment. A lot. Some of them are more expensive than others. Like the acetyl L-carnitine is not the cheapest supplement. If you're going to take fish oil, you have to get a good fish oil because a lot of them go rancid and they can end up actually being worse for your health. So you have to spend up for that. The one that I get is like $60. It's expensive.
How fast does that go?
That one's 180 pills. So I don't ever take. I rotate. I cycle these on and off. So I'm not taking them every single day. Sometimes I'll take like the weekends off. Sometimes I'll take a couple weeks off. But I take probably 4 of those pills per day when I'm taking it.
So
we'll say on an average week, I'm probably taking 16.
Okay. 16. Wow. Okay.
So it's 10 weeks.
You're
So
a
$6
very
per
healthy
week.
man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the stuff is snake oil, but I will say stuff like the B2 and the magnesium was actually recommended to me by a neurologist.
Well, so I took a bunch of pills for a while. Clip that. Because I like went into a vitamin kick and then I like saw the costs and I was like, this is terribly expensive. And also I like swallowing all those pills is very difficult. You must love swallowing.
I love swallowing so much. Clip that. Pause. But I've been taking supplements basically since
I've been swallowing my whole life.
I've been taking big swallows. So yeah, at a certain point you get good at it. But you think about like how big of a bite of food you can swallow. It's all a mental thing. Once you just get over the fact that they're pills, you can like I those 8 pills I can swallow in one go easily.
Yes, you can swallow big loads.
Big loads, just big loads of mega vitamins down the gullet. Yeah.
So what helps you sleep at night?
For me, let's see. Yeah, magnesium was my big one. But I will also add. I've started taking this recently. This is a prescription drug, so you have to go talk to your doctor about this one. But this is trazodone.
That's what I give my dog.
I think we
to
talked
fly.
about this before. Yeah.
You take trazodone?
Yeah. So it's like in the realm of it's not an SSRI, it's an SSDI, I believe. But it was terrible as a depression drug. But much like the way they discovered Viagra, which was like a side effect of it had a different intent for, I think, blood pressure. They found that people just get like really drowsy on it and they would fall asleep really well. And unlike most sleep drugs, it actually keeps your sleep architecture intact. So you still reach the deep levels of sleep. Whereas like if you take Xanax or a lot of the other bullshit that's out there, like it'll knock you out, but you wake up feeling drowsy because you're not actually getting the deep levels of sleep. Same thing with weed. Like you take an edible, it knocks you out, but you maybe know somebody who could relate to this. If you go off of taking edibles after a long time of taking them, you get vicious dreams, and that's because that's because you're not going through the REM cycles when you're using cannabis to go to sleep. So you're not getting the perfect sleep architecture when you're using THC to fall asleep. So when you come off of it, like you go hard into REM, and that's the sleep state where dreams happen, and the dreams get really intense.
I feel like in an alternate universe you have a really good path in pharmacology.
It turns out you have enough problems. So like I said, one of the things I take was recommended by a dermatologist because it's supposed to be effective against basal cell carcinoma, which I've had many of. So a lot of these things are actually recommended by respected doctors. Some of the stuff is just me like spending too much time on Google, but a lot of this stuff's pretty good. Yeah.
You're just making me want to go home and bust open my vitamin bag.
I do. If you ever feel like you have an issue on something, you can either text me because I probably have an answer for it, or go to a website called examine.com. It's a very impressive website, and it outlines all of the studies for which they've tested these things, and they're all human trials, so they're not like this worked well on rats or in vitro or anything like that. Like they're actual human studies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys heard it here first. If you have medical questions, email us at podcast@thetrek.co.
Yeah. So definitely don't do anything that I'm saying, by the way. Talk to somebody who is qualified to speak on these topics.
Sue us at podcast@thetrek.co.
Yeah. Trazodone, in my experience, has been awesome. The other thing I will go with...
Can we do that for a Patreon where you take Trazodone and come in? Because Harper, and I've had to use it for her for flight, she's gotten really sweet.
Yeah. I've never actually tried to stay awake on it.
Yeah, okay. Patreon March. That's my birthday month. That's what I want for my birthday.
Okay. Might need to Uber home on that one.
Yeah, I'll drop you off.
My second one this is kind of a twofer, but having a podcast or an audiobook that you can zone out to. Specifically something that is not too... It's almost boring. Like there are certain things that I listen to, or sometimes with audiobooks, the narrator just has a kind of a monotone voice. That's the perfect way for me to drift off. Like I can not even be that tired, and after like 2 minutes of listening to it, I'm out. So
I'm laughing because it's so relatable. On the Ozark Highlands Trail, I downloaded a book about how to like the ins and the outs of like having an LLC versus an S corp, like things I don't have, right? Like I have no need for. But I would listen to that to go to sleep. It was this guy with like the most boring voice talking through like the tax implications.
Yeah. No, I find if I listen to some stuff that's like too entertaining, I won't go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it needs to be like the perfect level of boring.
Yeah. That's great. I'm gonna piggyback that one with, well, actually a tip is if you use Audible, you can set a sleep timer on it. So you can have it, and that's always been my issue with like Apple Music. Maybe there's a button I haven't found, but if I go to sleep with that on, I wake up in the middle of the night because it helps me fall asleep, but then it will also wake me back up when I
and you don't get wildly out of place of where you are in the book either.
Like exactly.
It's not playing for 4 hours.
I know I've fallen asleep within this 15-minute time frame.
Yeah.
My piggyback one is just noise canceling headphones. Not for the sake of like listening to something, but a lot of what keeps me up at night when backpacking is just sounds. Like my brain goes to the worst for any sound. Twig snaps, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like leaf crinkles, I'm dead. You know, like throughout the night, I will not sleep. And so I'll put in the noise canceling headphones at my own detriment because it's usually till they die. But that will help because then it takes away the background nature sounds that I just like am not programmed to enjoy.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah.
That was only one, right?
That was only one. My last one, there's a big, this one's boring, so I'm going to think about it. Okay, I'm going to keep that as an honorable mention. My last one is going to be, because I'm thinking backpacking related, have a sort of nighttime routine that your brain knows this means we're going to bed, right? Like this is back in the mindset of treat yourself like a toddler. give yourself a bedtime routine that this means we're going to bed. Like for me on trail, typically if it's not the middle of summer type of day, it's going to be a cup of hot chocolate. I make my cup of hot chocolate. I know it's time for bed. I have it. I'm warm. I'm nice. I'm snuggly. I curl up. I fall asleep. And I think doing those repeat things, whatever they might be, before bed, your mind starts to realize now it's bedtime. Mm-hmm. We go to sleep now. And I think that helps a lot. I mean, I'll let you do your last one before my honorable mention, but I think the honorable mention's also important.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that works for our babies. They were terrible sleepers until we got a trainer, and makes a difference. My last one, I'm going to go with, it's called non-sleep deep rest, and there's a specific form of it called yoga nidra, which is sort of a meditation. I don't know if it'd be necessarily defined as a meditation, but let's just call it that, which, hard to describe, but makes you focus on different parts of your body. I use it mostly in the afternoon where I'm terrible at napping, but this is supposed to have the benefits of a nap, even if you're not able to drift off to sleep. And I find it works pretty well. I still think I respond better with a cup of coffee, but this isn't going to keep me awake late at night. But this is a specific meditation that is supposed to be beneficial for sleep. And I've used it a few times at night when I'm having trouble just calming down, and it's been successful. Would you just ask me?
That was the wrong text.
Johnson's got Bill's updates happening in the background. She texted me, who just got injured?
Sorry, wrong text.
We're paying attention.
Yeah, yours is really good. My honorable mention is screens. Mm-hmm. Even if you're on trail and you found that spot that has cell reception, or you've got your little videos downloaded, don't watch screens before bed. Screens before bed will keep you up. It'll teach your brain this is awake time, and you want your brain to think this is not awake time. And that's the hardest one for me to implement.
Yeah.
And the reason why I saved it for honorable mention is it's more of an off-trail thing, where like nights before work, I can't turn off the screen. Mm-hmm. On trail, it's easier. But if you're in a good spot with cell reception, sometimes it's easy to like carpe the diem and say, wow, I've got it. I might as well like take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But your brain's going to turn into awake mode.
Yeah.
Super fast.
Do you ever do it where it does like the blue light shift and then you dim the brightness all the way?
Yeah, but it's still the fact that you're staring at an artificial screen. Like it's not... The lighting I don't think is the problem. I think it's like, even like, let's say I'm scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, like I'm getting that like short attention span, switch, focus on something new. Like your brain is just in awake mode when you're doing that.
Yeah. I think I heard that it is largely correlated to specifically the blue light. Like some people will wear blue light blocking glasses at night. 'Cause for whatever reason, if I have my phone dimmed all the way, it actually doesn't, I mean, maybe it messes with my ability to get into a deep sleep, but I certainly don't have any problem falling asleep. Like I can watch a Netflix movie on my phone and fall asleep within like a few minutes.
Maybe it's all the vitamins.
Probably all the vitamins. Just so full from all the many fistfuls of vitamins I'm taking throughout the day. Yeah. No, it's a lot. It's a problem. Okay, honorable mentions.
That was mine.
Oh yeah. Did I have any? And then, I just shit on this, but a weed edible definitely will put you out. It does apparently mess with your REM sleep, but sometimes not perfect sleep is a lot better than not going to sleep at all.
You know what? We got to do a circle back to the jingles Triple Crown of, because the one I always get stuck in my head is that commercial where they're like, junk sleep, junk sleep, and they keep saying like whatever it is junk sleep because you're not actually like.
Oh, I don't think I've seen this one.
Oh my God. I every time I sleep poorly and I wake up and I go to my desk in the morning, in my brain I'm like, junk sleep. Like I'm like hazing myself with this commercial.
Yeah. No. Speaking of that, maybe this should be an honorable mention too, but I too have been doing a dry January-ish. I bent on Saturday. But yeah, sleep is so much better when you don't consume alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't sleep at all last night, so I can't confirm.
Yeah.
But I do.
There's other things that will keep you awake, but the older I get, like more than two drinks, and I can definitely feel like a bag of dicks the next day.
Yeah, I will say that's been the nice part about my dry 2 weeks is that I haven't been hungover any day. That's been nice. And I will punish myself by adding a week in February for today's.
Hey, sometimes you just got to fall off the rails.
Yeah. It's for a good cause.
Yeah. We have a cinnamon quart.
Yay!
Are you prepared to do this one, or do you need to get to your game?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
I'm here for this.
Is it halftime? Is that why?
No, it's not. We just lost a guy on D.
Okay.
As you know, from an injury.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Apparently, I'm supposed to read this one because there's use of a big word.
Oh, I remember this. I read this.
Yeah. I need the cinnamon quart. I clean my hands before eating in a way that my girlfriend thinks is super gross, but I think it's fine. As longtime listeners, I hope your judgment will help settle this debate. As you both know, your hands get pretty nasty while on a long hike, especially a dusty one like the PCT. To combat this, I employ what I call the spit wash before handling food. What I do is take a big mouthful of clean water and lean forward a bit. I let the water dribble out of my mouth slowly and hit my hands, which I rub together vigorously as if they're under a sink. By the time my mouth is empty, my hands are visibly clean. Sometimes I'll use hand sanitizer too, but not often. My partner thinks this is gross because my hands are covered in mouth bacteria. This is true, but I'm only touching food that's going right back in the same hole, so I don't see a problem. It feels cleaner than using hand sanitizer on unscrupulous hands and better than not washing at all, which is what she does. What do you think? Gross or not gross? We're currently on the Aurora, so this comes up often. Thanks for your help. P.S. On the PCT, I pooped my pants, but yanked them down just in time to see they were unspoiled. A moment later, I heard a plop and the turd hit the ground. My butt cheeks had been holding onto it for me. Am I a real thru hiker? That's from Aaron.
That's wild.
What was the big word? Unscrupulous?
Unscrupulous, yeah.
Okay.
Guys, we're going to have to work harder than unscrupulous if we want to get him. But I've got a pro and a con for this guy. Pro, I agree with you in the third paragraph that you're only touching food that's going right back in your mouth hole. So the spit coming out of your mouth, like, I don't see that as gross being on your hands, because you're right, the food is going right back in your mouth. So that doesn't bother me. However, sometimes I'll use hand sanitizer, but not too often. I just don't understand, because yes, you can see the dirt leaving your hand when you're using your mouth juice on it. However, you're not killing the bacteria. So like what you're looking for, like clean plate club, but like your hands are the plates, and you're not looking for, like, instead of it just being like gone, it is disinfected. You're just looking for, like, what it seems like is you're saying, I want them to look clean. And that doesn't equal being clean.
For me, I guess the devil's in the details. Is he talking about not using hand sanitizer after taking a dump? Because if it's just dirt, I'm all right with it.
Well, he's talking about eating. But
yeah.
He's saying that his method to clean his hands is to spit wash them.
Right.
I see that as like a neutral. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're not really achieving anything there. You're just spitting in your hands.
I mean, I guess if you don't want to get the dirt on your food, that is an effective way of accomplishing that. But like, if he's saying that he's using...
But why don't you want to get the dirt on your food? Is it because of the, like, bacteria in it or the germs? In which case, just getting the dirt off your hands isn't going to kill that stuff.
I don't know about that, because like when you clean food, you just run it under the sink.
Right, under like hot water while you're scrubbing. You don't just slowly
No.
dribble
I'm saying,
water
like,
out
if
your
you're
mouth.
like cleaning produce for a meal, you just rinse it under the sink. I think getting the dirt off of it can get a lot of like the microorganisms off of it too.
Yeah, but you're using like hot water, and the amount of water coming
You rinse
out of
produce with hot water?
I do.
Oh. Doesn't that make like greens wilt and turn nasty? Like you're gonna rinse a strawberry with hot water?
I rinse everything with hot. I've heard cold water doesn't do shit.
Oh. Maybe I'm the weird one.
I rinse everything with hot water, but I also don't think that disinfects. I think that just like wipes off, like that's the difference between someone who's going to filter water with a Sawyer versus someone who's going to filter water with Aquamira. Yeah, both are clean to drink, but one's got goopies in it and one doesn't, right? Like, you're doing the method of getting the goopies out, but you're using a broken Sawyer. Like, you're not actually like cleaning the water.
I'm going back to the food rinsing analogy, because people get sick from produce that's not washed properly all the time. Like, it's like I think it accounts for more.
Okay, but what does wash properly mean?
Well, nobody's using soap on their food.
Right. But we're talking about, like, if he's achieving anything by spit washing shit.
So the analogy is using a sink versus you spitting water. I think it's kind of accomplishing the same thing.
A slow dribble of water out of your mouth isn't really going to
That's also part of the question, is how much pressure is he applying in this?
Okay, so the internet, Martha Stewart says that produce should be washed under cool 45 to 55 degree running water.
You can't believe you're using hot water on your produce.
I just I don't know. One time I heard someone tell someone that they needed to wash their dishes with hot water because cold water doesn't do anything. And I just applied that to the rest of my life.
Yeah. It makes sense to me for dishes, something that you're not consuming.
It says you're supposed to scrub food before, when washing it. Wash or scrub fruits and vegetables underwater. This is besides the point. The point
I think it's directly the point.
Here's the thing. I don't do shit before I eat food on trail. I just eat it.
Yeah.
I'm not who am I? What am I calling the kettle? I don't hand sanitize and I don't spit wash. I just eat the food. And if dirt gets in my mouth, I'm living in filth. Why not? But I just think you're not, to answer Cinnamon Court, I think you're not achieving anything by spit washing. I think if you want to achieve something, just use the hand sanitizer on your hands. And if you don't want to use the hand sanitizer on your hands, then just let things be and eat your food.
If he's using the hand sanitizer after he shits, then I'm perfectly okay with this method. But I do disagree. I think that rinsing your hands with just water is akin to rinsing produce. If you can get the big chunks
but you
of dirt
don't when you wash your hands, you don't use cold water. That's not how you do it. You sing happy birthday twice with hot water.
Yeah.
And now if we're looking at Arm & Hammer, not Martha, they say use baking soda too. Granted, that seems like a plug.
Yeah. But I think the difference is poop follicles versus just the bacteria that grows on dirt.
Yeah, but I need to know what this guy's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because if he's trying to achieve clean hands, I don't think you clean them by spitting on your hands.
Yeah.
If you're trying to achieve just having a pleasant appearance to eat your food with, do less. Just eat your food, maybe.
I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is that you rinse your produce with hot water. That's kind of crazy to me.
I don't know. I'm just cautious. Sometimes I don't rinse it at all. So it's really just a crapshoot.
I either rinse it not at all or incorrectly.
With hot water.
Yeah, there you go.
Warm apples taste great when you break through the skin.
Yeah. Get nice and mealy beforehand. Well, thank you, Aaron. That made for a conversation.
Okay. Realsimple.com says to clean strawberries, because you brought those up.
Yeah.
Rinse them with water and then soak them in a vinegar for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Yeah, so if we're talking properly.
Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Okay. Yeah, I take the review.
Yes. 5-star review. Outstanding pod! ! 5 stars. Hiking vet. I am not new to hiking, but I'm going to be new to through hiking and section hiking. This podcast is my favorite thing to listen to on my way to work, and it's such a good variety of information, including for novice through hikers as well as advanced through hikers. It's real, it's raw in spots, and it's super easy to listen to.
I'm guessing that was a voice to text that was supposed to be raw in spots. I don't know. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what raw in spots is, unless that's somebody that's been on the podcast I forgot about.
It's on spot. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And it's super easy to listen to. I look forward to my drives every morning just so I can get a chance to listen to an episode or two. Thank you, Hiking Vet.
Thanks, Hiking Vet. Can you follow up letting us know what Ron Spots is?
Yeah, who's Ron Spots?
Now we'll read whatever's on the prompter. Okay, what are we doing for a sticker now?
We have a mailing list, put your email in on our website, backpackerradio.com. And we're just basically trying to see if people actually go to this website. So if you want to go to the website and put your email in, we don't even have anything to mail you.
No, I add them to the Backpacker Radio author page on the Trek. So you will get it's actually
good.
It's actually producing something.
Okay.
So if you want an email notification for when a new podcast goes live, that's what this list will accomplish.
Great. Okay, so you're killing two birds. You're getting email notifications and stickers.
Yeah. Are we giving it to everybody that signs up, or are we doing we're picking one per week?
We're not clarifying.
Okay.
Because if there's one or two or three or four, then everyone gets stickers.
Yeah.
If there's 20, then maybe we'll have to choose a few.
Yeah. So maybe you'll get a sticker.
We're not
Probably
clarifying.
You'll get a sticker.
We'll let you know
Yeah.
how it goes.
Super big thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, who we spoke to on the previous Patreon episode.
They were cool.
They were very cool. Fun fact that he was one of the original investors.
We talked to... No. You're thinking Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Shit. Oh,
God, you don't even know these people.
Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Austin Ford, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures.
They were cool.
Yeah, Brad was one of the early investors at LMT. Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Fables.
Christopher Marshburn, coach for Marion Outdoors, Dane,
Ish.
Derek Cook, Eric Casper,
The Friendly Ghost.
Eric Hoffman, Greg Knight, Greg McDaniel, Iron Hike Endurance Productions, Jason Snaler. This is an old one, but a new one.
I don't think we had anything.
Hardly know her.
Hardly know her. God, it's been a while.
Liz Seeger, Patrick Ciancialo, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo.
and Tracy Trigger. You can follow us on social media at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok at Backpacker Pod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chance.
You can find me on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey, or you can get my book Hiking from Home, I guess, /or. You can get my book Hiking from Home, a long distance hiking guide for family and friends on Amazon.
Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. What's up, YouTube?
Hi, Internet.
We, as of today's recording, we just launched our episode with Kyle Hates Hiking, and the comments have been pretty lively on that one.
Have they?
Yeah.
Can you read me some?
Sure.
The thumbnail is freaking hilarious. I cannot look at the thumbnail because I laugh so hard.
It is very funny.
At this point, if you guys are listening to this, you probably heard his episode, but you heard us ragging on like the whole exposed stuff and how we were going to make a funny thumbnail. He gave us a picture of him crying on trail with a big red arrow pointing to him that says in all black, like block letters, exposed.
Yeah.
And it is I cannot look at this photo. I laugh so freaking hard every time I see it.
I need to know what filter he used too, because like he like washes it out
Yeah.
to make it like extra disturbing.
So sad.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the one I forwarded to you. This podcast would be nothing without Chance Zach. Zach is Brains. Chance is love.
Oh, I didn't see that second part.
He must have edited it. We got
Wait, I'm not Brains?
your love.
Damn it.
We got thanks so much for having me on, Zach and Chance. It was such a privilege. I'll be back in Colorado in the spring if you want to do another one. And P.S. Nice thumbnail. We just gave you the shout out, Kyle, but thank you for joining us. That was a fun episode. Definitely hit us up, 100%. Such a fun podcast. Not a hiker. Don't watch hiking content. Purely stumbled on it, but hair wall caught my attention. Then I had to stick around, but have no idea about any of this. Much better thumbnail. I think you guys listen to what Kyle said. Kyle made it.
Much better thumbnail.
This guy sucks. He didn't even finish the PCT. This is from @TrailTalesPod.
Oh, so that's him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And somebody else said I'm not one of the 280K. I'm assuming that's one of the people that subscribe to his channel. I don't actually know. But yeah, moral of the story is YouTube is an active, cool place now, so you guys should go check it out. Okay, that's it for today's show. Chance has a football game to go watch. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Go Bills!